You stop pushing. You stop correcting. You stop trying to make everything normal again. And instead, you begin to see your loved one with deeper compassion, with greater patience, with more tenderness and grace. Some of the signs we'll discuss are physical, changes that happen as organs slow and energy turns inward. Others are emotional, shifts in priorities, attachment, and connection. And a few are deeply spiritual, experiences that science does not fully explain, but that caregivers across cultures and beliefs recognize again and again. Together, these signs form a quiet language, a language spoken between the body and the soul, a language that doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply waits to be noticed. And only those who slow down, who soften their expectations, who pay close attention, can truly understand what it's saying. If you have an aging parent, a spouse you've shared decades with, or a close friend whose presence has shaped your life, I invite you to stay with me until the end. As we go through these signs, you may begin to notice things you've already seen, moments you brushed off, behaviors you couldn't quite explain, feelings you sensed but didn't have words for. This video may help those moments make sense. And more importantly, it may help you meet this stage of life, not with fear, but with presence, not with resistance, but with love. Now, let's begin. Point one of the earliest and most misunderstood signs that often appears in the final year of life is a noticeable increase in sleep and a steady decline in energy. At first, it doesn't seem alarming. A longer nap in the afternoon, dozing off during a favorite television show, resting their eyes more often while sitting in a chair. But gradually, these moments begin to stretch. You may notice your father falling asleep in the middle of a conversation, your mother sitting quietly for long periods, her eyes closed, breathing slow and steady. A loved one who once stayed busy now choosing stillness over activity, without complaint, without explanation. Families often try to interpret this through a familiar lens. Maybe they're bored. Maybe they're depressed. They're just getting older. And while aging does bring fatigue, this kind of sleep is different. Medically, something deeper is taking place. As the body enters the final year of life, it begins a gradual, intelligent process of energy conservation. The organs, heart, lungs, kidneys, liver, no longer work with the efficiency they once had. Every movement, every conversation, every moment of alertness requires more effort than before. So the body does what it has always done best. It adapts. Instead of spending energy on movement or interaction, it turns inward, preserving strength for the most essential functions: breathing, circulation, and basic awareness. This isn't collapse. It's not failure. It is biological wisdom at work. Hospice nurses often describe this phase as an inner retreat. The person is still there, still aware, still feeling, but no longer fully anchored to the fast, demanding rhythm of daily life. It's as if the body is gently loosening its grip on the outer world. Many seniors in this stage don't describe themselves as exhausted. They describe themselves as calm. One 84-year-old man put it this way: "I don't feel tired. I just feel closer to peace when my eyes are closed." That statement captures something families often struggle to understand. This sleep isn't an escape from life. It's a soft withdrawal, a turning toward rest, reflection, and quiet presence. Emotionally, this stage can be confusing for loved ones. You may feel an urge to keep them awake, to talk more, to stimulate them, to pull them back into the world as it used to be. That urge comes from love. But at this stage, forcing alertness can actually create discomfort. The body no longer wants stimulation, it wants ease. Instead of resisting this change, the most compassionate response is gentle accommodation. Keep the room calm and softly lit. Lower background noise. Speak in a slow, reassuring voice. Touch gently, holding a hand, resting a palm on their shoulder. Even when their eyes are closed, your presence still matters. Rest, in this season of life, is no longer avoidance. It is not giving up, and it is not weakness. Rest is preparation. It is the body's way of easing the transition, of letting go gradually, without panic, without struggle. When you allow this rest, when you respect it instead of resisting it, you give your loved one something invaluable: peace. And in the final year of life, peace is one of the greatest gifts you can offer. Another powerful sign, one that often brings deep emotional discomfort for families, appears quietly at the dining table. It starts subtly: a plate that comes back half-finished, a favorite meal pushed aside after just a few bites, coffee left untouched, dessert declined without explanation, foods they once loved, meals that carried memories, comfort, and routine, suddenly lose their appeal. Portions grow smaller, interest fades, and sometimes they refuse food altogether. For families, this can be one of the most painful changes to witness, because feeding someone is instinctive. It's how we nurture, how we protect, how we express love when words feel insufficient. So when a loved one stops eating, it can feel frightening, as if they are slipping away faster, or rejecting care itself. But here is the truth many doctors and hospice professionals gently emphasize. As the body approaches the end of life, it no longer requires the same fuel. This change is not the cause of decline. It is a reflection of it. The digestive system, like every other system in the body, begins to slow down. Metabolism decreases. The stomach empties more slowly. Digesting food becomes work instead of nourishment. As a result, hunger naturally fades. This is not starvation. It is not neglect. And it is not giving up. It is transition. The body is gradually shifting its energy away from sustaining life in the physical sense, and toward rest, conservation, and comfort. Along with appetite, taste often changes. Sweet foods that once brought joy may suddenly feel overpowering. Rich or heavy meals may cause discomfort. Even familiar flavors can feel strange or too strong. This happens because the senses, taste and smell included, are changing as the nervous system slows. What once stimulated pleasure now feels unnecessary. Families sometimes respond with urgency. Just try one more bite. You need to eat to stay strong. This used to be your favorite. These words come from love. But forcing food at this stage can actually cause harm. It may lead to nausea, abdominal pain, choking, increased breathing discomfort. Instead of providing comfort, it creates distress. At this point, nourishment must be redefined. Instead of full meals, offer small sips of water, ice chips, soft foods like soup, yogurt, or applesauce. Gentle tastes offered without pressure. Let them guide the process. What nourishes most now is not calories. It is presence. A calm voice speaking softly. A familiar hand resting near theirs. The comfort of sitting together without expectation. These moments feed something deeper than the body. They feed connection. They feed safety. They feed peace. When a loved one eats less, they are not rejecting your care. They are listening to their body's final instructions, honoring those instructions with patience, understanding, and love is one of the most compassionate acts you can offer during this sacred time. Many families begin to notice something that feels subtle at first, but gradually becomes unmistakable. Their loved one grows quieter. Phone calls that once came regularly stop altogether. Messages go unanswered. Conversations that used to flow now end after a few words. Where laughter once filled the room, there is now silence. Not tension, not sadness, just quiet. For families, this change can be deeply unsettling. You may wonder, are they depressed? Are they angry with me? Have I done something wrong? But in most cases, This withdrawal is not depression, and it is rarely emotional rejection. This withdrawal is intentional, not emotional. As life moves closer to completion, many seniors naturally begin to turn inward. The outer world, the noise, the opinions, the constant need to respond, starts to feel heavy and unnecessary. Instead, attention shifts toward the inner landscape. Memories resurface. Moments from childhood, long-forgotten conversations, people they loved, lost, or never fully reconciled with. This is a time of reflection, a time of quiet emotional sorting, of making peace with what was lived and what was left unsaid. Many seniors also begin letting go of external obligations. They no longer feel the need to entertain, to explain themselves, or to stay engaged for the sake of others' comfort. One man in his early 80s described it this way: "I've already said everything I needed to say in this life." He wasn't lonely. He wasn't sad. He was complete. For loved ones, this stage can feel like a loss. Even while the person is still physically present, you may miss their stories, their opinions, their interest in your day. But this quiet is not a wall. It's a doorway. If this happens, the most important things to remember are simple, but not easy. Do not take it personally. Do not assume rejection. And do not force conversation. Pressure to talk can feel overwhelming at this stage. Words require energy they no longer want to spend. Instead, offer presence without demand. Sit beside them. Hold their hand. Share the space without needing to fill it. You don't need to speak. You don't need to entertain. You don't need to fix anything. Your calm presence is enough. Silence, in this phase of life, is not emptiness. It is not absence. It is sacred space. A space where the soul is quietly preparing for what comes next. And by honoring that silence, you are honoring them. As the body continues its gradual slowing in the final year of life, one of the most noticeable physical changes involves breathing and temperature regulation. For many families, this is also one of the most frightening stages, not because it is painful, but because it is unfamiliar. Breathing patterns often begin to change in quiet, uneven ways. You may notice breathing becoming slower than it once was. Pauses between breaths that feel longer than normal. Occasional deep sighs, followed by silence, and then another breath. Sometimes the rhythm seems unpredictable, almost as if the body is choosing its own pace. These changes are not sudden emergencies. They are part of the body's natural transition. As organs lose strength, oxygen exchange becomes less efficient. The lungs and heart, after decades of constant work, begin conserving energy. Breathing becomes instinctive rather than controlled. Less effort is spent maintaining a steady rhythm. The body allows itself to breathe only as much as it needs. Along with breathing changes, you may notice shifts in body temperature. Hands and feet may feel cool to the touch. Skin color may appear pale or slightly bluish, especially in the fingers or toes. This happens because blood flow is being redirected. The body prioritizes vital organs, the heart and the brain, over the extremities. It is a quiet reorganization of resources. While this can look alarming, caregivers and hospice professionals consistently report something important. This stage is rarely painful. Many seniors do not experience distress during these changes. In fact, they often describe sensations that are surprisingly gentle. Some speak of lightness, floating, a sense of being unanchored. One hospice patient described it this way: "It feels like my breath is deciding for me now." He didn't say it with fear. He said it with acceptance. For loved ones, the most powerful thing you can offer during this stage is calm presence. Keep the room warm and comfortable. Avoid loud noises or sudden movements. Speak slowly and gently, even if you're not sure they're listening. And hold their hand. Touch provides reassurance when words no longer reach. Even when a person does not respond, Hearing is often one of the last senses to fade. Your voice still matters. Your presence still matters. This stage is not about intervention. It is about accompaniment. By remaining calm and steady, you help create an atmosphere of safety, one that allows the body to continue its natural process without fear or struggle. In these moments, love is not something you say. It is something you are. One of the most profound changes that can occur in the final year of life is not something you can measure with machines or tests. It is emotional. Families often notice it suddenly, and yet, it feels as though it has been quietly forming for a long time. A person who once worried about everything, finances, schedules, other people's opinions, becomes noticeably peaceful. Someone who carried anger for years softens. Their voice gentles. Their reactions slow. Old grudges, some held for decades, seem to lose their weight. Arguments that once mattered no longer do. The need to be right fades. This shift can feel confusing, even unsettling, to those watching it happen. You might think, are they in denial? Are they suppressing something? Why aren't they afraid? But this calm is not denial. It is emotional completion. Psychologists, hospice nurses, and end-of-life counselors observe this stage again and again. As life draws toward its natural conclusion, many seniors begin a deep internal process of reconciliation. They reflect on who they were, what they loved, what they regret, and what they are finally ready to release. Fear loosens its grip. The future no longer demands planning. The past no longer demands defense. There is a quiet acceptance, not forced, not dramatic, but settled. Many seniors describe it simply as being ready. Ready to rest. Ready to let go. Ready to stop struggling against time. Some express relief. Relief that expectations are gone. Relief that the constant effort of living is easing. Relief that nothing more is required of them. For families, this calm can feel disorienting. You may still feel afraid, still feel unprepared, still feel desperate for more time. And when your loved one does not share that urgency, it can feel like distance. But this calm is not withdrawal from you. It is resolution within themselves. Trying to interrupt this state, to pull them back into worry or urgency, can create unnecessary distress. Instead, the most loving response is simple. Honor it. Sit with them in their peace. Listen without correcting. Allow moments of quiet without filling them. You don't need to understand this calm to respect it. You don't need to share it to support it. In many ways, this emotional settling is one of the body and soul's final acts of wisdom. It is the sign of a life that is slowly, gently coming to rest. And when you witness it, you are witnessing something rare. A human being finishing their story, not in fear, but in acceptance. Death is not a failure of the body. It is not something that went wrong. And it is not a punishment for growing old. Death is the final chapter of living. Every breath taken, every heartbeat, every quiet moment of rest has been moving toward this conclusion from the very beginning. And when the body begins to soften, slow, and let go, it is not giving up. It is completing its work. When you begin to recognize the signs we've talked about today, something important shifts inside you. You stop fighting what cannot be changed. You stop trying to force the body back into a rhythm it no longer wants. And instead, you begin to honor what remains. You learn to meet your loved one where they are, not where they used to be, and not where you wish they could stay. In this space, presence becomes more powerful than intervention. Your presence matters more than medicine ever could. Your patience matters more than explanations or answers. Your love, quiet, steady, unspoken, matters more than time itself. You don't need to say the perfect thing. You don't need to fix what cannot be fixed. You don't need to fill every silence. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer is simply to be there, to sit beside them, to hold their hand, to let your calm reassure them that they are not alone. These moments may feel small, but they are sacred. They are where fear softens into acceptance, where struggle gives way to peace.